We should send Bird and Magic over for 3-on-3.
Listen,
that's an old man's game. Let Larry Bird sit at the high post and just shoot and just
let
hit
Shaq
whoever
play.
back door.
let Shaq dominate.
Oh my God. Just stick Shaq in the middle and just throw him the ball. And this is going to sound like so much hate, and I swear it's not.
Welcome to the Warner Brothas Podcast. My name is Keenan, joined by my brother Kyle. We don't have Brandon and Duke with us today, but you know what? That's fine. We're going back to the original two. Kyle, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's Olympic season, so I mean, we're just in the heart of that. I have not watched as much as the Olympics as I would have liked. Definitely catching my share of basketball, but as far as the Olympic events altogether go, not nearly as much as I wanted to watch, but I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm kind of in the same boat. I've been watching it a little bit here, a little bit there. I've seen Simone Biles doing what Simone Biles does. She's not even letting it. There's a chance that she goes at 31 to the because next year it's in LA. It's LA.
Mm-hmm.
It's LA. But so next year she's or 4 years from now, I should say, she's talking about maybe I'll even do it then, which would be insane for a gymnast at 31 to be putting in work. I mean, it's insane for her at 27 to do it. It's really dominated by like a young adult teenage sport, really from 14 to 19 because of how the effect it takes on your body. But
I saw a description of what makes her so great and what separates her from the field. And apparently, like, with the two things you're scored on in gymnastics is, obviously how you stick the landing, but also the difficulty of your trick, right? Or your move or whatever you're doing. And I guess the moves she attempts are so like far out of the league of everybody else. Like, nobody else can even attempt the shit that she does. So she doesn't even have to land it perfectly, and she already gets like an insane score. So she's just, by the sounds of it, far and away the most athletic in that field. So
yeah, no, she's a 101, and it makes sense. Like, I was talking about it with a couple people at work. She was 7 on the ESPN top 100. That would probably change after like these Olympics, possibly. Like, she might be able to creep up into almost like close to that top 5. It's interesting to see. But speaking of that list, on it, you had a guy named LeBron James. LeBron in the Olympic U.S. team has been playing pretty good basketball so far. It's been interesting for me. KD obviously went crazy in the first game, especially in the first half. Him and LeBron set the tone. And then from there, it's been basically by committee. Bam had a big second game. You had Anthony Edwards had 26 in the third game. What are your thoughts so far on the U.S. Olympic team in their run?
This is probably my favorite team since the 2012 Olympic team. It's been extremely fun to watch the brand of basketball they play, anchored by LeBron, obviously. I'm enjoying it. I mean, I'm sure just like you, and I'm sure like much of everybody who's watching, I think I caught the first scrimmage they had, which I think was actually versus Canada. And yes. I don't know, like 2020 felt very much, I guess it was 21 technically, but I don't want to say it felt thrown together because that's not fair either. But I don't know. 2016 and 2020 didn't feel like 2012 and 2020 or 28 either. 2008. It didn't feel like the Redeem team. It felt more like an AAU team that was thrown together. Which is unfair because
you didn't have all the best players in the league on it because like LeBron and Steph weren't there in 16 and 21. At least I don't think LeBron was in Rio. I was gonna say, but
no, LeBron hasn't been on since 12. But
12.
It felt, I don't know, it just felt AAU team-ish, which again isn't fair because there is a whole program, there is a whole process. But I mean, I don't know. There felt like there was more legitimacy to it this year. And then, of course, we're coming off, I think, a 6th place finish, maybe an 8th place finish last year in the Worlds. We did not have a good showing, which is why we got this team in the first place. I just love the ball movement. I love the intensity on defense. I love international basketball. I mean, I wish we would
Mm-hmm.
take the Worlds more serious. I wish the FIBA
Agreed.
Worlds were broadcasted more like the FIFA Worlds and the FIFA Euros and the FIFA South American tournament. Like, I wish we branded that brand of basketball more, because there's a lot of good teams that can compete with us. I mean, yeah, we end up blowing out a lot. Like, we're going to blow out Brazil in the quarterfinals, sure. But Serbia with Jokic, Canada, France on the right day, those are teams that can all compete and even beat us on the right
Oh yeah.
day. I mean, we saw it with South Sudan, so.
Yep. Oh, I agree. I've really enjoyed it. It's been fun. The one thing I'm waiting for is a Steph explosion. Still haven't had that quite yet, and he's been kind of finding his group. Like, that's the one thing that I'm waiting for, is just like 6'3" barrage from Steph where he's pulling up from 35 and it looks even farther back than regular because of the fact that the line's closer. So I'm waiting for that aspect, but otherwise I think LeBron's done a great job kind of orchestrating the team. So, and this kind of brings up an interesting question. Do you think in a series, LeBron's still the best American in the game? Like, when you're coming just like 2 weeks of basketball or 3 weeks of basketball, would you still think he's the best American?
It's a good question. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I mean,
It
over
is.
over the course of a 2-week series, LeBron would. I mean, he does. He's not the same two-way player. Offensively, obviously, he probably yeah. Offensively, he probably is, as far as how he can find you good shots, but it takes everything out of him. You've seen that in the Denver series the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
He can't carry a team like that. He's obviously the smartest player, smartest
Yeah.
offensive player, pretty much outside of Jokic, right? It's those two. Um, I don't know. You could obviously make a case for Anthony Edwards. I think you could still make a case for Durant, honestly. You really could. Um, but, Ant's there. People sleep on Ja. Ja's going to be back in that conversation this
Oh,
year.
yeah. I mean,
Obviously,
depending on
Tatum.
what Steph you get, Steph's still in that
Sure,
conversation
yeah,
too.
Curry, Tatum, and Brown. It's hard to say that. I mean, Tatum you would put up there before him probably, but yeah, I mean, LeBron's obviously still on the short list, and I think
Yep.
Durant's still on the short list. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough ask because Jokic feels separated from everyone else. I know he's a second round exit this year, but Jokic.
Wasn't
I don't
to
know
his
if you saw the
fault.
stat, but in the last Serbia game in the group stage, the score was tied anytime he was on the floor. The score was tied with the U.S. team, and anytime he was off the floor, it was like minus
Minus
29 or something
26.
like that. So
Yep. Yeah. Now, Jokic still has the biggest impact in sports. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want to say sports because I'd probably be Mahomes just because of how the quarterback position is if you're going team sports. But he has the biggest impact in basketball throughout all of basketball. But I would agree. LeBron being LeBron over a 2 week stretch, if he's the number one pick for you, honestly, after Jokic and probably Giannis, I wouldn't hate it. Like, I would be like, okay, I get it. Just because of the way he can kind of dictate and control pace of a game. KD is still the best plug and play superstar, probably, maybe ever. Honestly, when it's come to just, we don't have to worry about, I know because everyone makes a big deal about, being a leader here, having to run a team, whatever. If it's just, we're open court, it's 5v5, we're just going in there to play basketball. Is there a guy you would rather have than KD? Like, obviously, that guy Mike's pretty cool too. Like, I understand there's a lot of great players, but if you're just saying plug and play, I haven't played in 4 months. I'm going to go in and go 8 of my first 8 and have 21 in the first half of the first game. It's just like those things from KD. It just shows how much he's just a true hooper. Like, no other pressure than just going out there and making shots and playing defense and doing things. Great. So I would say those. I would say those two. Obviously, the gravitational pull Steph has. I think Ant has been playing great off the bench. Anthony Davis is also another great plug and play player because defensively he gives you just so much, and then offensively he can run you can run an offense through him. We don't have to, but those would be kind of the guys on the short list. What did you think of Embiid sitting out a game or being a DNP? And what did you think about Jason Tatum? Because Kerr's been kind of going with 10, and two guys have been really sitting out for the majority. Obviously, Halliburton's gotten that treatment as well. Drew Holiday barely played in the last game, I believe. So it's been kind of like it's been really a rotation of pieces. But what do you think about Kerr going with 10 always?
I really don't think much about it. I mean, people made a humongous deal about Tatum, which I kind of understand because, I mean, it's what ends up happening on Team USA anyway. You have 8 less minutes, I believe, than an NBA game.
Yep.
And it's just like an NBA roster or really any other roster in America when you have a basketball team. Like two players are going to get cut short. I mean, I think a lot of fans look at it like an all-star team when really you almost have to look at it like a high school team. You know what I mean? It's just 40 minutes. You're trying to find the best role players or what each player's best role is. Like Durant that first game, he was the sixth man cooking off the bench, right? Since then I believe he started here and there, but it's all about role. It's all about matchup, much like Belichick with the Pats. You know what I mean? Like it's all matchup dependent. So I mean, you saw Tatum started the next game, but he didn't play. So I'm not too surprised by it. I will say, when this always gets me, like any Olympics, because we're gonna have these games where we blow these teams out. It does get me when we're up like 20, 25, maybe even like 15, and it's clear the game is in the balance. And it's like, all right, you could definitely throw Jason Tatum in right now. And then they just keep him on the bench. It's like you couldn't find minutes for Tatum or Embiid there. But they don't seem to care about it. I think they all see the greater goal. And it looks great. I mean, the product looks great. I don't mean to talk about it like it's a viewing product that we're paying for. But, just the brand of basketball that's on the court is very fun to watch. And it kind of sucks that we only have 3 more games. But it's cool. I'm interested to see what the next iteration of this team looks like as well. But it does suck that it'll be the last one probably with Bron, Durant, and Steph Curry and such.
Yeah. So I was going to say the next iteration is going to be interesting because as Tatum was sitting the bench for a couple games, he might be the permanent starter. Like on all of these ones. Anthony Edwards, it'll probably be a team filtered around Anthony Edwards. You might see Cooper Flagg on the team. Well, he obviously played against the USA team, and this will be in 4 years from now. So players like that might make the roster. But for me personally, I didn't make a whole lot of it. It's what we kind of talked about before the Olympics were even starting. And we have too much talent on the roster to where those people sitting in like 08 were like Michael Redd and Tayshaun Prince, and it wasn't looking terrible for it's like, okay, that makes sense. Those guys are still very quality NBA players or stars on their own team, but they're not top 10 players in the league. Like it's hard to get in. I mean, think of the college basketball, obviously March Madness. It's 2 20-minute halves, but it's a 40-minute game. And every runs matter, and if you lose, you're pretty much out. Obviously, this is group play, so you could lose a game and still be there, but every game matters tremendously. And now you're in a win or go home kind of situation, so every run and every stint matters, and you're gonna have a select 8 or 10 that's gonna have the most chemistry. And obviously, LeBron's been in the moment a bunch. KD's you could argue the greatest U.S. Olympian we've ever had. Then you have obviously a guy in Steph, like the one that would make no sense. Like if Steve Kerr at Steph, that would not go well in the locker room. I could not imagine Steph getting a DNP and then coming back. I mean, he's such a quality guy that he probably would be okay with it, but like Steve Kerr, you'd have to answer to that. Why are we sitting your superstar for? But I mean, at some point when you have so much talent, especially when your lower end talent is Bam and he's a top 30 player in the league, it's like, okay, Derek White, Drew Holiday, like those are your lower end guys, but they easily could play because they fit in so well to roles. At some point, you're going to have to sit some people, and it makes sense for Embiid against Sedan because of the matchups. Tatum in the first game, as unfortunate as it is, Halliburton, I could get it, but I don't think it's too much to make of it. You have so many stars and talent on that team that you're going to have to put it together, but I'm excited to see the quarterfinals. I want to see more of France. Obviously, Wemby's been playing pretty well. Franz has been playing great. Canada is the second best team. Jokic is Jokic. Even Giannis has been playing great. Greece is just not that great, but Giannis has been playing great. So I'm excited to see what the next few games are going to look like in the next 3 games for hopefully only 3 games for the U.S. and they get themselves a gold.
Yeah, I mean, Canada definitely has the second most talent, but Germany's been probably the second best team of this tournament.
Yeah, they've been playing really well.
They've been blowing out teams. I mean, Schroeder's been playing well, like you said. Franz been playing well. The Wagner brothers in general have been playing well. Like, they definitely have something good going on over there. I really wish, and we've kind of touched on this, I really wish Wiggins was on the Canadian roster because I feel like that would almost put them over the top. It's just a guy who's athletic enough to match up with Braun for a couple possessions or match up with KD. Like, you could just use him. You put him at the 4.
Also, Zach Edey would be one that would be really nice for them too, just because he's 7'4" and a big body, and obviously there's no defensive 3 seconds, so that's just a rim protector, even if it's 8 to 10 minutes. And if you're playing against Embiid, you got a guy who can match him physicality wise, at least in like height and size. So, and Edey would have been another one that they're missing too, but Wiggins for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's the game I'm looking most forward to in the quarterfinal is France versus Canada. France obviously home game for them, right? This whole tournament's been home, even though they're playing outside of Paris. But I'm not sure if the tournament games are moved closer to Paris or what's going on. But I don't know. That's a team I would have expected to medal, and for them to draw Canada, and again for it to be a home, it's really like a coming out party for Wemby for a lot of people. I'm assuming. I don't think he was on national TV a ton last year, so I'm very interested to see how that goes. I could see France pulling off the upset or keeping it close. They got some home cooking in their game against Japan. I don't know if you saw this where Rui Hachimura got kicked out of the game for, like, I don't think the NBA would have kicked him out for either one of those flagrants or even assessed him a flagrant for either one of the fouls that were called. So they've gotten some weird calls already. So I'm really interested to see how that game goes on Tuesday. I think that's going to be a fantastic matchup.
Yeah, it should. I was gonna say it should be a really good one. You've got 2 young superstars on the floor, and then you've got players around them who can produce at a high level. So that game should be every game from this point on. Like once the quarterfinals start, should be quality basketball games, regardless. For the most part, I mean, I know I know the U.S. is going to walk through Brazil.
And
they're gonna walk through Brazil.
Who is it that's got Greece? It's Germany and Greece. I mean, I could see.
You would need a Giannis. You would need a Game 6 Finals Giannis performance for them to probably.
That's probably what you're gonna get, though. That's the thing. Like Giannis and when Doncic is in these games and Jokic, you're getting, by and large, you're getting the NBA version of them.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's no defensive 3. Which low key is one of the worst rules in the NBA. I don't think we talk about that enough, but I don't know. Like any Olympics, and I know I'm kind of veering off. I was gonna say Jokic, Giannis, and Doncic, you seem to still get the same versions of them, even in this, where they're kind of dominate. They can still have a huge imprint on this game, even though it's much different than the NBA. But I was also gonna say, yeah, the defensive 3. Do not like that rule in the NBA, and FIBA just feels like a much more pure brand of basketball without the defensive 3, with the physicality you can have with the guards, which I know is coming back to the NBA post last All-Star break. But
yeah,
I don't know. I always love the brand of Olympic basketball on top of the talent that keeps growing around the world. So makes for some great games for sure.
Yeah, and it's going to only continue because the international play is just increasing and increasing. There might be, there probably won't be, but there could be even a time here within the next 20 years that the USA might not be the most favored depending on who is going into the games, just because the world is becoming so much better. Look at Canada's roster now compared to like a Canada 20 years ago with Steve Nash and others.
Could happen. I think they'll. It's hard to see.
I think the U.S.
They wouldn't be favored, but I could see them being like a short favorite compared to an overwhelming favorite.
maybe like a plus 200 to a plus 500 or something like that, where like the odds are still in their favor, but it's not like a plus 200 to plus 10, like 1,000 plus for other teams. Like,
Yeah, I can't imagine you not being able to get them at minus money, honestly. I mean, it all depends. I mean, look, the next Olympics we got to figure 2028. That's going to be like, I mean, I think Wemby's already basically like that's going to be Wemby entering his prime, more or less. You know what I mean? So that team's going to be dangerous. Depending on what Canada brings, that's going to be dangerous if they're still bringing like SGA and all them. So they, I mean, all depends.
They'll
All
have
depends
Sar. If Sar can develop into actually something pretty special. Also, I can never pronounce his last name. The Victor guy, Richard or whatever, who went to the Hawks. Risa Shea, thank you. Because I believe both of them are.
I'm wondering why he couldn't get selected for this year's team. Like how?
Yeah,
how
I'm just saying, like
how not ready is he for him not to be on this team, even like as a eighth man? When you got like Frankie Nicotina, whatever the hell his name is, like he's on the team still.
Yeah, but you have if you have those two, Wemby, maybe Embiid's like, let me go to France this time. I know Embiid will be older, but he can't. If he chooses one, he has to stay with that one.
Pretty sure. I mean, I think that's how.
Okay, hey, I don't know that rule, but you know what? That's fine, regardless. And then you probably got the tail end of Rudy Gobert, but he's still a tall presence. I mean, France could be interesting, especially when you have that Wembanyama guy. He can make things real interesting. Maybe they get Tony Parker back. Maybe they're just like, hey, Tony, come play for 2 weeks for us, please, and thank you. He probably can still run an operation. He can't play defense to save his life, but offensively he could probably do something. He could probably do a little something still. I don't know what kind of shape he's in, but shout out to Tony.
Late 40s Tony Parker by that time, probably.
Yeah, so late 40s Tony could probably show a little something.
Don't see him staying with Ja Morant, but yeah.
Ja and Zion really should be on this next team. Like that should be two players that should be on this next team. And if that's the case,
if everything went the way it should have, or the way we wanted it to go, I should say, Zion should be on this team. Like if there's one person,
Zion and Ja should be on this team now. And
yeah, I mean, Ja's one thing. Ja I can see stylistically, and I don't even know if he made it. I don't know if he was even on the tryout roster for the Worlds and all that. But Zion had been in the Olympic pool in college and in high school and was supposed to be that guy. And to be fair, it looks like he might finally be turning into that guy, but he's one that should have been in the Olympic program, should have been coming off the bench for us. Like he should just be wreaking havoc. He should be in the Bam spot right now, possibly. Or just a spot just for him just to wreak havoc and just run around and block shots and just dunk and throw his fucking 400-pound body into people.
Like, especially with no defensive three, he could just literally sit at the rim. But Kyle, can you imagine the athleticism of a lineup in like 4 years? Ja Morant, Anthony Edwards, Jaylen Brown, Zion, and Bam, and they're just running all over the court. That would just be Dunk City. They would play so much lockdown defense. Oh my goodness.
And Zion and Ja Morant that'd be like when you got the trampoline out at halftime for the mascots. That's basically what it'd be anytime it's a break for them. So
that would have been like our created player all time series, where our created player series was like me, you, and Trent would just make guys who are 6'8" and extremely athletic and all go for blocks at the rim. And we just all be head above the rim, arms almost at the top of the backboard, just flying around. That would be insane. Having John Anthony Edwards in the same backcourt would be the most insane thing. If we didn't have a double alley-oop between them and Zion, it'd be a little disappointing. They would need a double alley-oop.
Game breaker type dunk.
It would be a game breaker type dunk. It's that time of year, Kyle, though. It is August 4th right now. It's Sunday.
Hold on. Let me ask you before we get into football.
Okay.
What are your other favorite Olympic events? I actually meant to ask you and Brandon and Duke this last time we recorded. By the way, go check out the Pickup Basketball podcast that we did record. So, world's greatest pickup game. But yeah, I meant to ask you guys what your favorite events are aside from basketball. What would be your top three, you think, that
My
you find
top
yourself
three.
watching?
I enjoy swimming. I'm gonna use swimming as one because I really like synchronized diving. Actually, I
That
like
is pretty cool.
or diving, and then I like synchronized swimming. I also very much like swimming. Watching Katie Ledecky lap the field is always cool for me, or obviously watching Phelps, Lochte, or whomever else throughout all that. So I do enjoy that. I enjoy the 4x1 and the 100 meter. Noah Lyles needs to get himself together and prepared so he can go bring us a gold home. But I do enjoy that, and then I would say probably floor gymnastics would be the three other ones, and then ping pong's it's surprising just to the side. I think that's just insane. Ping pong's insane to me. Just like how quick, like they look at the ball, throw it, and then like just the quickness of like how they're hitting them. It's crazy to me. But
It's
those would
extremely
probably be
fast
the.
paced.
It is so fast paced and it's insane. But I would say gymnastics, swimming, track and field, but more so than 100 or the 4x1. And then if I had to give a fourth, like a kind of honorable mention, be ping pong.
Okay, I would say mine's for sure track and field would be number one aside from basketball.
Yeah.
Obviously the 100 meter, 200 meter, 400 meter relay.
Yeah.
You just can't get more explosive than that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's just you can guarantee fireworks every race, basically, right? Men or
Yes.
women's. Swimming would be up there. Swimming, when it's a good close race, it's really fun. And the cool thing about it is, like, I think swimming and track, I think those are NBC sports anyway. So like you're getting their
Yeah.
normal commentary team. So you're getting like they're incredibly hype. That dude that does
Yeah.
swimming 99% of the time is like hype as hell, right?
Yeah.
So that always makes it a good watch even when you don't know what's going on. So swimming might be up there. I actually like watching team handball. That's always a fun sport to
Team
watch when
handball
it
is
comes to the
fun.
Olympics.
Team
Oh
handball is
shit, what
fun.
else? What else we got?
Water polo's random. I just so it's
I do
random,
like
but
the
it's
I do
weird.
like the obscure sports
Yeah.
like the target practice joint. Like that one was funny. I don't know, like if you see me post about the dude that Turkey sent, where he like you're supposed to have specialized eye gear so to where like you can
Mm-hmm.
see properly, and you're supposed to wear obviously headphones to protect your ears from the sound and stuff. And this dude just
Yep.
showed up in a t-shirt and pants, had his hand in his pocket, and he just took the silver medal and just shooting at the target. Didn't even just wore his regular glasses. Um, I love the obscure sports like that. Skateboarding, I actually like the street skateboarding.
Yeah.
That's great. They're always on at such weird times, but we do have this will go right into your segue. Our man, Scott Hansen, doing the red zone, doing the gold zone
Mm-hmm.
for the Olympics. So that was a very well needed addition. We've been needed the gold zone. Like we needed that 8 years ago. I feel
Yeah.
like they finally got the Olympic coverage down. Thank God it'll be in LA, so we don't have any crazy times. It'll still be Pacific time zone, so it'll be a little different, but it won't be like having games on at 5 a.m. type shit. So
Yeah.
I'm thankful for that. But these
I'm
Olympics
I'm
really
extremely
haven't been
excited for
too
that too.
bad as far as time goes. Hasn't aligned with me with my work schedule, but it's all good. But yeah, no, I would say track. I would throw swimming in there, and then some combination of handball, skateboarding, and whatever else.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm missing a event though. I do feel like I'm missing
There's
an event.
probably there. I mean, there's so many events that we probably are missing some that are actually fun.
I'm gonna check
Do you
the
think Dwayne
Olympic.
Wade's been doing a good job? Real quick before I know we're going into
Yeah,
football, but do
he
you think
has been
Wade's
doing
been doing
pretty
a good
good.
job?
He's been doing pretty
Mm,
good. It's so weird. We've mentioned it before. Like he's a natural in studio. Like he's so good in
yes.
studio, and he's actually a natural in the booth too. But his vibe that he gives me is that like I don't think it's gonna be something he does a lot. So he
No.
really seems like he's just hanging out, and he does a good job. Like there's times where he seems like I don't want to say too jokey because you'd rather have someone not be too serious in the booth, right? But it really
Yeah.
does feel like he's just kind of hanging out with Noah Eagle. Like
Yeah.
Noah Eagle's taking it serious, and then Dwayne Wade's is here for the ride. But he does a great job even with that. He'll give you some great analysis here and there. But no, I
Yeah.
think overall he's doing B plus job, I would say, especially
I
for someone as
yeah, I
hard
was like, I
moving.
would yeah, I would like him. I think I would like him in a double color commentary a lot because I think that he would be able. He gives like good like pointers, insight, like kind of like how when they had Kevin Harlan. I think it would be either Reggie and then Jamal Crawford because they wouldn't always have Jamal Crawford by himself. They'd have him with somebody else. I think Wade would shine in a moment where like that, where he could kind of throw his points in a little bit too and not have to be the only voice. Because I agree with you. I think he does phenomenal when when it was the TNT crew and he was one of the four. So he got to give his insight for a few minutes. It was him, Candace, Shaq, Draymond was there a little bit, really depending on who was there. But I really liked him in that role. I think he's a great basketball mind, and he's obviously been in pretty much every situation. He's been on an Olympic team. He's been a champion. He's been the best player on a championship team. He's been the secondary player on a championship team. Had to obviously part of the big three. Like he's just been in so many situations that he has a lot of experience to speak on, plus having the knowledge. But I think he's been doing a pretty good job. I was wondering what your thoughts were on it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if he'll be a part of the NBC team going forward. Now that we know they are getting, I mean, we knew they were going to be the part of the basketball package. TNT was really competing with Amazon. It looks like
Yeah.
TNT will be forever out of the running. I cannot wait for NBC or NBA on NBC to come back. I mean, no offense to ESPN, which they'll still be involved, but they've never, ever since they took over for NBC, they've never been able to really make it feel as big of an event as NBC used to, or as the NFL does for all of their games, even regular season games. I mean, for whatever reason,
Even
ESPN does not match TNT in that regard and just can't match the NFL. Whereas you'll see it with NBC, they're going to make even regular season games feel like an event. And I don't know, it's going to be a refreshing change. I hope they get a lot of the TNT crew, like Jamal Crawford, like Reggie, all those guys. It'll be
Candace, I
interesting to
hope
see how this
Candace
all shakes
stays
out.
and does stuff.
Inside the NBA,
Um,
that's a different conversation. But
yeah.
to go back real quick, Keenan, before you respond, I
Mm-hmm.
left out one crucial one. It's kind of breaking the rules because I said besides basketball, but 3-on-3 is
The
just
three
really
on three
fun
is
to
fun. Yeah,
watch. And
it is.
I think so. Like part of the rules, Keenan, are like you have to play in FIBA sanctioned tournaments for you to be 3-on-3 eligible, which is why
Yep.
we don't have like it should be. I would love Joel Embiid in that instead of on our team. Like have Kyrie, Joel Embiid, and maybe Jaylen Brown there. Like imagine that as our
Yeah.
3-on-3 squad, and you get a couple bench players. I think so. You might be able to have up to
Yeah,
six. I
you
don't
typically get four, I think, so
four.
you'd be able to add like I think it's four, so I think you'd be able to add
Okay.
another one.
So I mean, I'm gonna guess by the next Olympics, especially if we lose the gold medal here, I'm gonna guess we're gonna get our dream team moment in LA with the 3-on-3 and just demolish everybody because that would be we need that. I mean, shit. Like even send people over from the big three. Goddamn, send Joe Johnson, Melo. I know
Steven
Melo's not in the big
Jackson.
three, but send Joe Johnson, Melo, and whoever over there. Steven Jackson, Al Harrington. Throw one of them over there. We'll be all right.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I can't wait for that emergence. And Keenan, guess what else? Guess what else is
What?
making its debut in 28? Flag football.
What?
You want to talk about a dream team
Oh,
moment? You want to talk about a dream team moment? We might start getting international players now if that becomes more popular because of the Olympic
yeah.
appeal. So
Yeah. I feel like I totally missed the boat not being able to compete right now in flag football like on a complete on the ESPN level. I was watching ESPN and watching the flag football tournament. I was like, why have I not tried to do that at some point? That would have been fun to do. Um, but with the 3-on-3 wise, it would be really cool to have, or in the WNBA, like it would have been really cool to have. I know because they've done it for a while. If we would have had some of our other best stars, like I know Enrique would have been cool to have on that. It's unfortunate we don't have Cameron Brink because that iteration for Cameron Brink, Haley Van Lith, Dearica Hamby, with like Ryan Howard actually was on that. Hamby was a replacement, but it would have been nice to have kind of your secondary because if could you imagine if it was like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Arike Agumbawale, and
that's what
then you
that should
keep
be the
Dearica
three.
Hamby for a bit.
That should be the three that's there right now cooking. Can you imagine how popular it would be if we had Caitlin and Angel over there? Like Caitlin just going
Yeah,
to work on someone and just backdoor
yeah, like
passes
it's
galore. in 3-on-3.
Like that. See, that would have been really cool. Like if she didn't make like if you had Angel, Caitlin, Arike, because Arike putting people in the blender would have been great to see, especially because she would have had so much room. And then you get a big, you keep De'Arica Ham because she can play big. Obviously, they have their system and how they've done it for a while, so that's why they're not there. But it would be really cool to see those three.
We should send
Plus De'Arica Ham be there.
We should send Bird and Magic over for 3-on-3.
Listen,
that's an old man's game. Let Larry Bird sit at the high post and just shoot and just
let
hit
Shaq
whoever
play.
back door.
Shaq dominate.
Oh my God! Just stick Shaq in the middle and just throw him the ball. And I wonder what that would look like with Shaq.
It would probably look pretty nice. I would probably look solid, honestly. But you were talking NBC with obviously the commentary team and how excited you are, especially comparatively to ESPN. Do you feel like ESPN is the lackluster for the NFL? Because I feel like Monday Night Football to me doesn't have the same punch as it used to.
I feel like it used to be. I feel like it was definitely, God, it felt like there was 8 to 10 year stretch where Monday Night Football didn't feel up to snuff. But now they got Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, so those games definitely have more pop. Yeah. And they, because of what their commentary team was before, they didn't necessarily get great Monday night games. Like they definitely, you'd always end up with these weird ass Monday night games, and you're like, all right, why am I even watching this? And that was part of the stipulation with Troy Aikman and Joe Buck was that they're getting a Super Bowl one of these years. ESPN is now in that rotation, so they'll probably get it every 5 years. So that was part of the thing, was like they got to have good games to call. So I actually like, as of the last year especially, I much prefer this Monday Night Football production compared to in years past. Because, it definitely was the weak link out of CBS, Fox, NBC. Now I think it's up to snuff, though. I feel like all around the NFL has pretty amazing commentary, especially compared to the NBA, which I think is now getting better than it's been in probably since the NBC days. Like, NBA's just been lacking for whatever reason. Shouts to Mike Breen, though. Shouts to Kevin Harlan.
Mark Jones. I like Mark Jones a lot, too.
Ian Eagle, Noah Eagle, who's doing the Olympics, too.
Yeah.
The phenom.
We definitely have some good ones there, and we'll continue to have
guys. It's the color commentary that really takes a hit for whatever reason.
Yeah. I was going to say there was that Chris Webber stint, which was terrible, but
Chris Webber's one of the.
I'm excited to see Tom. I'm excited to see Tom in the booth and see how he can do this year. Obviously, Nance and Romo, like that tandem just feels, regardless of how you feel about Romo, that tandem just makes you feel like it's a big game. Regardless of who it is, it just makes it feel like it's a big game. And I think Tom Brady can give that same feel. Not that Greg Olsen did a great job, I think, when it came to it. And so I think Greg Olsen, when he called out the game well, he diagnosed things well. He didn't over-diagnose. He pointed out players that were like your secondary level players that you don't really know about, and actually showing like what their value is to whatever team. So he did a great job with that. I don't know. I just feel like the name Tom Brady is going to make those feel even more like marquee games, especially if he can do a good job with it. Because obviously Romo set the stage on fire starting off because he was like calling plays, and then it got to a point where now people are a little annoyed with him because of it feels like he's so quarterback centric. But of course it's going to happen. Yeah, no, of course. I have no problem with him. And obviously you have the Sunday night crew. I actually really like Collinsworth. I know people are so hit or miss on him. I actually like Collinsworth.
I like Collinsworth. I think I used to be annoyed by his voice, like high school and coming up, but Collinsworth I've come to really enjoy in the booth when it comes to listening to games. And
Tirico's a goat, so
Tirico's great. Wish Al Michaels was still over there, but Tirico's great. Who the fuck was he just talking about? Romo's talking about Brady and Olsen.
Yeah.
I'm interested. I think Brady, look, if you know anything about his career, obviously he takes everything to the most serious degree. Even the roast, he did a great job at the roast. Like, I was incredibly surprised at how good his roast was. I don't know. He probably didn't write that, but even his delivery of the jokes was pretty damn good. You can tell he put some thought and some work into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't expect him to be a bad analyst, but Greg Olson's really good. Like Greg Olson's
Yes.
more than equipped for that job. Like
Oh, absolutely.
they don't need a 3-man booth with Brady. And you gotta have the voice for it. You know what I mean? Like Jason Witten just straight up sounded uncomfortable in there. Didn't have the voice for it. You know? So that could be the case with Brady. It's funny because this is the job everybody assumed Peyton Manning would have after his playing career was over. Everybody assumed Peyton Manning would eventually be the next John Madden. And of all people, Mr. couldn't get anything out of him. I mean, you think Belichick's bad. At least you got him being a dickhead to the reporters. Brady was just boring. Brady would give you nothing. Absolutely nothing in his post-game stuff.
Took him to go to the Bucs for him to get a little something out of him. You got a little bit
little.
more you got a little bit more personality out of him online and things like that. But up until that point, it was really what was going on with you on the field. It's just a very competitive game out there. We were just talking, and just glad that my teammates could help me get the win today. All right, Tom. Okay.
Pretty much.
All right. All right, Tom. Got it.
Yeah, we
You were yelling at the cornerback all the way up the field and against the Titans. What were you saying to him? I'm just really glad that we were able to play great sound football today, and we're able to move on to the next round. It's like, okay, Tom, can you give us anything? You couldn't have just said this guy was talking like this. I'm just really glad that our teammates were able to make the plays, and we were able to come into the game with great preparation. Josh McDaniels put a great game plan together. Coach Belichick did a great job. Like, okay, all right, Tom, let's go get him. But the roast does give me a little bit of hope too, and I know he did like an XFL, like a kind of exhibition to get himself going, and he sounded pretty solid there too.
I didn't
so I'm
realize
hopeful.
That. I'll have to go check out the highlights of that.
Yeah, they had him. It wasn't the whole game. I think it was.
I thought the XFL disbanded again. They had a season.
I think it was the XFL or the UFL. It was one of the things. It was one of the leagues commentating. It was UFL, XFL, one of the ones. It was during the UFL. Sorry, it was the UFL championship, and he was with Fox this year. He was commentating. He had there's like a 3-minute clip of it. Fox posted it, and actually he sounded pretty good up there. It was him. God, I can't think of who else was there, but yeah, Tom Brady, I think he did pretty solid there. Obviously, he was trying to get his bearings and trying to understand it, and then obviously he's showing a little bit more of his personality. I think he's going to be able to do a good job. The knowledge is there. It's just how can he convey it? Can he do that in a good way?
I've seen Belichick. Belichick's got like 3 media jobs. I think he's doing Inside the NFL with Julian Edelman and all those guys. He's got a spot on the Manning cast with Eli and Peyton. And
Peyton's going to bring out the best of Bill. I like that.
Yeah, and it looks like
Peyton's going to bring out the best of Bill.
It looks like Belichick's going to have some sort of his own show where he's breaking down games. They said like he's coaching the fans. Like he's going to and he does an amazing job at that. Like he does an amazing job at breaking down the game for just your average person. So that's going to be like the fact that you can get that for free is kind of incredible. I really wish the Manning cast is great in theory, like especially when it wasn't Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. But they have so much, it's almost like a talk show, like at night, like everyone's just promoting something. So like you'll have a celebrity on. I don't really care to hear a celebrity talk football. I want to hear them with Bill Belichick or Ray Lewis or something like that. I really wish they were on like Amazon Prime. That way they could actually like talk how they'd really talk and not have to censor themselves for Disney. So I hope eventually that their contract runs out with ESPN and they go to a streaming service, because I think that would be a much better product. But
I agree. I think that would be a better product, and it is hard for me to watch a secondary cast of a game when I do like the main cast. So like I really like Joe Buck and Aikman together. So it's hard for me to not listen to Buck and Aikman and listen to Manning and Manning. So it's like obviously like if they're talking to certain people, and you're right. I really don't need to hear what Chris Rock has to say about Patriots, Falcons. Like I don't I don't care. Chris Rock, you're cool and all, but like I don't need you to hear about that. Like I'd love to hear what Ray Lewis sees on the 3rd and 7 from the middle linebacker. Like what could Jawan Bentley have done differently?
And
Like things like that. Like
I probably wouldn't mind it if it was like I think they do like 4 guests, like it's all throughout the game. If it was 2 guests and
yeah,
maybe one of them was say, yeah, Chris Rock, use that example, or they've had Kevin Hart up there a few times, or people
yeah.
like that, Will Ferrell. If you want to do that in the first half, then the second half you got Ray Lewis, that type of thing. But I don't know. It's under that Disney umbrella. So, but there has been some cool things. I really haven't watched it much since that first season. Like if there's a certain person that's going to be on, I will check for that period of time. But I would say that first season, I actually I think I watched that more than the regular broadcast because it was just so interesting and new. But the last couple seasons have
Lewis
not tuned in
Riddick,
at all.
Booger McFarlane, and I can't even think of who was actually commentating the games, but it was.
He did hockey because I recognized the voice when he.
Yeah,
But yeah, I know what
who
you're talking about. Those were dark days. They were recycling through. They were cycling through a
And there
lot of
were-
broadcast teams.
And the Monday night games just happened to then be like 5 and 9 versus like 6 and 7 teams, like things like that. And it was like,
These had weird ass
okay,
games.
it's like, all right, that's really cool. I'm really glad we see the Texans before CJ Stroud playing against the Panthers on Monday Night Football, guys. Glad to see this game. I'm really excited to hear Booger talk about that. But I am excited to talk Patriots, though. Obviously, there's been some talk around Joe Milton and Drake May, that Drake May has not been playing as well as Joe Milton throughout these first few days of training camp. I don't fully make much of it because obviously it's training camp. I know other people are. What are your thoughts so far on what you've seen from Patriots training camp and moving forward into what you kind of light projections as on how the season could go? I know we're going to get way more into that as we get close to the season.
I haven't seen anything about Joe Milton and Drake May until Tim put what Colin Cowherd said in the group chat the other day. So I mean,
it was a report. There was a report about it, and then obviously Colin Cowherd spoke on it, and then that kind of went viral. But go on.
Yeah, I don't put too much into it at all. Maybe a little more after preseason, but I mean, you can't really put much into preseason either. Really, the dominant story I've heard out of Pat's camp is what's going to happen with Matthew Judon. Are we going to give him an extension? Are we going to trade him? He's in a lame duck year. Now, allegedly, we are one of the front runners for Brandon Ayuk, us and the Browns, allegedly. So that's been the main thing I've heard. I mean, I think training camp just started up, within this last week. So camp really starts to heat up the closer you get to your actual first game, once you get joint practices with teams. So this next week and going forward, really, because this must be week 1 of the preseason starting up after we just had this Hall of Fame game. So I think I'll really start paying more attention to the training camp storylines this week coming up. But as far as week 1 of Pat's camp, the Joe Milton Drake May debate, that seems pretty par for the course. I mean, I think we did talk when we drafted Joe Milton that we were pretty surprised because he was quality. He seemed to be a quality quarterback that went that late.
Yeah.
At least something you could maybe build something into down the line. Who knows? Maybe a good backup quarterback, something, right? He had a good college career. But yeah, I mean, it is someone who could. I mean, Drake May's raw. It is someone in theory who could, push him. And if that's the case, that's not a bad thing. Drake May's young. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily a bad thing if there was a QB competition. My theory on it. I want as much quality in my QB room as possible. I wouldn't care if there was. The Kirk Cousins. What's my man's name? With the injured knee
Michael Penix.
over there, Michael Penix. I think that that's an ideal situation. Obviously not with the injuries that those two have, the injury history now that those two have, but that's my ideal type of situation. A Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers type situation. You know what I mean? I just want as much quality in the QB room. For sure. So Brissett, what I think, look, I want from the Pats what I've wanted the last 3 seasons, which is just ball control. So if we could get Brandon Ayuk in a ball control type offense, because this defense is as legit as they come, like for real. Like this defense is versatile. They're athletic. They can get after the quarterback. They can turn you over. This defense is truly as good as it gets. I'm not saying it's the best in the NFL, but is it on the short list? Yes, it is. So if we can get some ball control with Ramondre, get some just easy completions for Jacoby, and control the game, control the clock, I think we could be a competitive team. Not competitive in the fact that like we're on the edge of the playoffs. I think we could be a 4 to 6 at the most 7-win team. I don't think I'm breaking any grounds here, right? But like competitive, being in these games, losing by one score, losing by a field goal, right? Losing by 10 points, but that 10-point game felt hella competitive most of the game. That type of thing. So I'm just looking for a leap in competition from the Patriots. Not many real expectations from them this year. Next year and going forward is really where I'm going to judge Gerard Mayo. I just want to see if he has control over this team, if the players are responding to him, if we have a clear vision of what the offense is supposed to play like. That defense is already in hand. That was, Mayo had his fingerprints all over that defense anyway. So I'm really, like I said, offensive side of the ball. I'm not too worried about QB yet. I'm approaching it like Jacoby's going to be there all 17 games. Now, will that happen? Probably not. I do think we'll see Drake May a little bit, but I'm not moving forward like I think Drake May is going to be our starter in week 3 or week 6 or anything like that. So, lay expectations.
He's in when he's ready. He's in when he's ready, and that's what I'm fine with. I'm in the same boat with you. Is this defense is legitimate. I don't want to see too many blowout losses. They're going to happen. We're not a great team, so they're naturally going to happen, which is fine. But when I leave this season, I want to walk out feeling we have, because I don't think that Jacoby's playing all 17. And if he's not, I mean, if he does, he does. If he doesn't, he doesn't, whatever. But I want to feel like as long as we got our quarterback, we have promise for the future. I want the rest of the roster to feel like it has promise. The defense I'm not concerned about. Just want to see development from young guys, because that's something that Bill did at an elite level. It was the development of young guys, especially on the defensive side of the ball. If you're going to a position, especially cornerback, he could pick a cornerback from wherever and would pick the right guy and be able to develop him and make him into something special. We've seen him do that with plenty of guys. So I want to see the defense develop, how Gerard Mayo can have control over the roster, and how buttoned up are they? Are we going to get to a lot of penalty trouble? Are we going to be prepared? Are our game plans going to be sound? Those kind of things, because we don't have the talent. Obviously, these other teams do, so it's just fine, especially offensively. Defensively, we can compete, but offensively, we don't really have the talent. And then offensively, if I see Drake May, want to see flashes. Just enough flashes to where I'm like, okay, he's athletic. Okay, he can make that throw on 3rd and 7. Okay, we can stretch the ball with him. And my hope is that we found our quarterback of the future in 2024, the 2024 draft. If it happens to be Joe Milton, to be quite honest with you, couldn't care less. Doesn't really make a difference to me. I don't think it's going to be. I'm not trying to predict that, Joe Milton's the guy forever, but like, we didn't think Brock Purdy was going to be the guy. We didn't think Tom Brady was going to be the guy. If there's a guy that happens to just be the 6th round pick and he turns into something special, cool with me. I just want this year, the 2024 draft, to be the year the Patriots found their franchise quarterback. Obviously, we're not going to know for now, but that's what I'm hoping for from what happened in this draft. And then I'm just hopeful that we see the signs of development moving forward, and then get someone like Brandon Ayuk or a splash if we can try to do that towards the season, off season, whatever that is. But 7 wins, I think, is the max for the Patriots this year. If they were 8 and 9, I would be super, super hopeful for what's happening in the future. That means Drake May did something right, Milton did something right, or Jacoby Brissett did something right with this roster. So,
yeah. I mean, I don't have real expectations out of the QB position at all.
No. Well, just a little bit of flashes. That's really all
I just want to see competitiveness. I just want to see a sense of direction. I mean, we're just a regular NFL team now. You know what I mean? Like it's all it is, and that's
How
That's
does that
okay.
feel? Like,
Huh?
it's weird. Like,
It is weird.
obviously, and we're
Like,
fine. It's
eh,
because, like, at this point, we're finally, because there's no more Bill Belichick, so there's no more the great all-time coach. So we are really in the, we have a top 5 pick. We just need to, let's just hope we can build something thing. Because even with Bill, it was like, okay, Cam Newton's here. He can make something happen. Then it was like, ah, man, COVID. And then it was like, oh, Mac Jones is here. We're a playoff team. We got killed by the Bills, whatever. And then we were right there at the playoffs. And then it was like, okay, now we're all crashing down. So it's finally, we're like real. The Brady Belichick era is officially done, and now we're just in regular mode, and it's so weird. It
it
is
is.
so
Yeah.
good to
No,
be a
I mean, like,
regular
we're
roster.
gonna. It's, I mean, Mayo's a Patriot. Like, that's the thing. Like, he went from playing for the Patriots, was a great player for
Yeah.
the Patriots, and then pretty much
Mm-hmm.
immediately after, because his career was cut short due to injuries, he probably would have played, God, another 6 years at least. Like, he was right in the prime of his career when he left the game.
Yep.
Truly. And I'm pretty sure he joined the staff like immediately after that. So I mean, he's basically been a Patriot, for his professional life, right? So
Mm-hmm.
maybe he has a little more rope as far as, like, let's say year two is not the greatest season if it's a 7-9 season, right? Maybe he has rope after
Yep.
years 2 and 3 more so than a regular guy off the street would, or a regular hire outside of the organization. Um, but other than
Patriots is
that,
08.
everything's gonna be much different. And if you've seen the Patriots fan base at all since Belichick left, I mean, there's people, I've said it plenty of times. There's people asking for Belichick to be fired in 2020, in
Yep.
2021, even when they made the playoffs, right? So, I mean, people aren't going to be forgiving at all. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of these Patriot fans, not the ones who were at Brady's retirement, those are the real Patriot fans. But there's a lot of real Patriot fans out there who are truly fair weather fans who will turn on this team once they're 0-2, who have already
Yep.
turned on this team and such. But either way, even the real fans, they're going to have expectations out of Mayo. Not this year, but certainly going forward. Year 2 and on, yeah, you're going to expect people who are like, all right, why aren't we competing with the Bills, the Jets, the Dolphins? Why are they? You know what I mean? So we got to
Mm-hmm.
at least, it should be at least a tangible goal for them to split each of the divisional games. Take one from Miami, take one from the Bills, take one from the Jets. You can do that. You can do that and maybe win 3 games outside of the division. Cool. Cool. We got a vision, right? And if it all looks competitive and this and that, I think we're moving in the right direction. But I'll have much more to say about the Pats. I mean, really, actually, no, I won't. I mean, that's really, that's really what I really want and feel in a nutshell. Uh, because I don't think there's any. I'm sure the media will try to make it seem like May's competing for the job for week one, but I don't think that's how Mayo and the organization's operating. So, outside of that, I don't have
I
much to
hope he's
say.
not. Unless, like, I
Wouldn't make
really
sense
hope
to
it's
me.
like, I don't want him to be competing for the job. If he for some reason has the job week one, that shows me that he's impressed. But
Hmm.
I think it should be Jacoby Brissett's job. He's here as the guy to kind of be a bridge quarterback. He's a veteran. He's been a Patriot. Teach him the way. We get Drake May on board. And if for some reason it's Joe Milton, whatever. But like, keep Drake May on board. Try to get him to get him ready for next year, or get him ready for midway through this season, or whenever he happens to come in. Jacoby Brissett does get dinged up from time to time, so he might have to hop his way in there early on. We never know, but hopefully we'll see when it happens. But I'm with you, Kyle. If we could split the division, would be amazing. Even if it's only like 2 wins, if we go 2-4, I just want a couple division wins and then one pretty big win through the season, and I'd be happy. Like, we, for really good teams, we play the Bengals, the 49ers. We
We got a tough
play
schedule.
that. We do have a really tough schedule. We have not an easy game. I mean, we might say this later on. Like, the
Right.
easiest game on paper right now is the Cardinals,
Hmm.
because like goes, we have the Bengals, Seahawks, Jets, 49ers, Dolphins, Texans, Jags, then Jets, Titans. Like the Titans would be that. The Titans are the Cardinals, but like that's early. There's a world they don't win a game until like November. Like that could happen. Like, is it going? I don't think that's going to be the case, but like the easiest game out of all of them is the Seahawks week 2 or the Jags in October, but the Jags are still a quality football team. So like, or the Jets maybe if Aaron Rodgers is not good anymore or something like that, but they've got an extremely tough schedule, especially for being last in the division. Like that's an extremely tough schedule just on paper for preseason. So
Very
if
tough.
they can legitimately get 4 or 5 wins, don't get blown out too much, and maybe beat a team like the Chargers towards the end of the season when they're looking for a playoff berth, or maybe they upset the Rams when they host the Rams, or something like that where they could beat a team like that. I got all the promise in the world to get it for it, because this is a true 3-year like rebuild of like this year try to find some promise, next year get flashes of us being able to be a good team, year 3 try to get back into that playoff hunt. Let's hope that's how it goes. That's how it's supposed to be on paper. We obviously know how
we should be at least a bubble team next year. We should be in the hunt, weeks 13, 14.
When they show that massive graphic in the hunt week 16 where it's like 12, it feels like it's 20 teams, but like we should be one of the higher up teams where it's like these teams, and then in the hunt one of the 5 teams there in the hunt. I'd like to be that in week 16. And I'll feel confident about where the Patriots are going to be if that's what they can be. Yeah.
That's where we should be.
That's exactly where we should be.
As we sit here today, it's August 4th. The season starts on September 5th, which is a week earlier than usual. I don't know why it starts a week earlier at all, but I'm not complaining at all either.
No.
I really want to see what the schedule layout is, because that must mean the postseason starts a week earlier then, so everything's going to be a week earlier. Interesting.
Yeah.
But I can't believe it's here. I want to cry tears of joy because it's so close. We've already got injuries. You got fantasy football season, draft season coming here within 2-3 weeks. I mean, it's all here. I mean, what game 1's Ravens Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
So we got that Thursday, September 5th. The next night we got a Friday night Brazil game, Eagles and I believe Packers, which is another good game.
Eagles
Why
Packers.
the fuck it's in Brazil? I don't know, but
we have no idea.
You got 2
and
really
then,
good games. They'll both
and
probably
then
end up
week 1.
being,
Go on.
No, I was gonna say they'll probably both end up being like, I don't know, combined all below all 4 games combined probably below 60 points, but they'll still be fun to watch. And if it's any indication, the Hall of Fame game ended early due to weather. So maybe it's just gonna be a weird ass season. I have a feeling it is going to be a weird ass season. Last season was plenty weird. I mean, we saw more backup quarterbacks than I can ever remember, and I honestly think that's going to be closer to the trend from now on, like closer to the norm, I should say.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I could unveil this list right now. I mean, the list right here. List is right here. We got the list, but the tier list, but making some final touches. There's some teams that could move around here and there. I mean, especially like Justin Herbert getting injured. That's a real injury, him having plantar fascia. I mean, this was supposed to be, I don't know what expectations were for them. They're a team that would be hard to have expectations for with Harbaugh coming in, coming out of that regime of goddamn Brandon Staley and whoever their GM was, to now go to Harbaugh, a true professional coach, and you got someone people think like perennially people were calling him top 5 quarterback, Justin Herbert, right? And now you got him with a real coach, and now right before you go into your season, you get an injury that's probably going to hamper you your entire season if you play on it, right? If you don't play on it for several weeks, That's like your best case scenario. But then you don't have Justin Herbert for your first 2 months of the season. You don't want that. But this is also an injury that's he's not going to be able to move around well on. So
Nope.
you already start their season with like a handicap of sorts. So how about you? Any final thoughts? Olympics, music, otherwise?
To be honest with you, no. I'm excited to get to this tier list, and I'm excited for the days to come so I can watch quarterfinal basketball, and then we get into this NFL talk because I want to know what your thoughts are. I'm just excited. I love NFL time.
If Tim was here right now, I might have unveiled my tier list early. I really do. I got to figure out the theme of this tier list. Then maybe I can change the name of these tiers. Other than that, it's just about ready to go. It's just about ready to go. Like my top 10 solidified, and then that next group, and that next group is pretty solidified, and then it's the middle class is what I'm really sorting through.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you this time don't have any more thoughts, comments, concerns, this was the Warner Brothas Podcast. This was Keenan. That was Kyle. We will be back within the next few days, and we're going to be talking some football. We are going to be breaking down the list that we've been alluding to. Of course, we're going to have Timmy on, unless something crazy happens, but we're going to have Timmy on to break this stuff down with us. Check us out, TikTok, Instagram, Warner Brothas Podcast. You can find this on YouTube or on streaming services, Warner Brothas Podcast there as well. Appreciate all of the support and everything that we've been getting. We are out.